Hello and welcome to Neuroshambles, the podcast that aims to shine a light into some of the murkier corners of what it's like to parent neurodivergent kids. I'm Mark Allen, and every episode I'm going to be swapping stories with my guests about some of the frankly ludicrous nonsense we have to deal with on a daily basis. So, if you're anything like me and you're feeling frazzled, overwhelmed and pretty much an outcast from polite society, join me. Hello and welcome to episode 42 of Neuroshambles. Now, it's very nearly that time of year where I take a bit of a hiatus from the podcast and conserve my energy after what has been, let's be honest, a pretty long school year. Let's think of it as my summer equivalent of a bear hibernating in the winter. If, of course, that bear, instead of sleeping, had to solo parent 3 neurodivergent kids for half of it and do a shed load of planning and preparation for the next season of its podcast for the other half. Anyway, before I go off radar for a few weeks, I have got a cracking final episode of the season for you, where I'll be talking to a wonderful guest who I last had the pleasure of speaking to back in season 1. We're going to be tackling a topic of the week that I hope many of you will find useful over the coming weeks, as well as looking at some Neurodiversity Champions, some tiny epic wins, and a handful of what the flip moments as well. So, without further ado, and in the immortal words of Ant and Dec, let's get ready to rumble.
Meet the guest.
So this week's guest is someone I am really pleased to be able to bring back onto Neuroshambles. As a mum of 3 now fully grown autistic humans, she's been through so much of what us parents of younger neurodifferent kids are currently experiencing. So the episode I recorded with her way back in season 1 was genuinely eye-opening for me. As well as being a former speech and language therapist, she is now an autism family consultant who posts some fantastically positive, neuro-affirming and surprisingly sweary content on her School Run Mum Autism Instagram account. I am delighted to be able to welcome back Lisa Galley. How are you doing, Lisa?
I'm great, thank you. I love that you picked up on the swear.
No, it's like, you know, when you read that, yeah, it's one of us.
It's lovely to be back, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Always good to chat. So for those listeners who didn't hear the episode you recorded back in season 1, just give us a little rundown of your setup and the Neuroshambles in your household.
So, like you said, I've got 3 grown-up autistic kids. So my eldest is 30, and then I've got a daughter who's 26, and then my youngest is 21. And 2 of them live independently, and they're both teachers. And my youngest son lives at home with us. And my husband is ADHD, and I have dyscalculia, which is probably the easiest way to describe it is just number blindness. So I really struggle with numbers and patterns. And so we are a very, neurospicy household. That's us. Yeah, and you're out the other side of sort of a lot of the challenges that many of the Neuroshambles listeners face. And you're still dedicating your life to autism consulting and to educating other people on how they can manage the challenges that we find. Yeah, I just love autism.
I love autism.
I'm just passionate about autism, and it's always been a massive part of my life. And it made sense when I stepped away from speech and language therapy due to burnout because of our family. It just made sense that, organically it led into me actually working with parents on, about autism and neurodivergence. So,
we are all very grateful that you're sharing your experience with us. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So that is an introduction to your family. Let's crack on with the topic of the week.
What's the topic of the week?
This week's topic was inspired by a Neuroshambles listener, Amy Rutter. Shout out to Amy. Thanks, because she asked me to contribute to something she was putting together for an excellent parent carer support community she runs. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But she wanted some tips to help people navigate the summer holidays and asked me for my input for some reason. And it reminded me that I sort of said that I'd do an episode about that very thing, and what better time to do it than when many Neuroshamblers are standing in the metaphorical foothills of the summer holidays, staring up at the daunting 6-week trek ahead of them. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at why the summer holidays can be so hard for many parents of neurodivergent kids, as well as responding to some of the questions sent in by listeners. So Lisa, it's been a while since you've had to navigate the summer holidays with your neuro-exceptional kids, but I'm sure the memories never leave you.
Oh no, I'm probably mentally scarred by most of them.
So, silly question. Do you remember those days fondly?
Do you know what? Some of them, yes. I think it's a mixed blessing.
It is,
Isn't
isn't it?
'Cause, yeah, we haven't got that school run, and all my kids find it very difficult to go to school. So that goes away, and you've got that kind of element that's relaxed, but then you've also got that huge expanse of time to fill, particularly when you've got kids that don't really want to go out the house either. I think that can be really challenging, feeling almost hostage to the house. Yeah,
it is definitely a double-edged sword, I think, because as you say, for the kids, for both of us, me and the kids, to not have to navigate the school run when it is tricky for them and they'd rather not be in school, but also it's quite nice that there are fewer demands. You can lower the demands on them, and I think that's actually really important respite for them. I think summer holidays is definitely more appealing to the kids than it is to us, if I can say that.
They can reset, aren't they? Whereas we're kind of switched on and we're on go.
Yeah, exactly.
We're the dysregulated one.
Where's our 6-week holiday?
Yeah.
So I thought I'd look at the parents' experience first, because as you said, 6 weeks is a long time. Mm-hmm. And like a major factor in this, if I'm being honest, boredom. Right? Because this might be a sweeping generalization, and this might be only my perspective, but I think there's a difference between how parents of neurodivergent kids feel about the summer holidays compared to how parents of neurotypical kids feel. Because I think in a neurotypical household, the kids get bored. And in a neurodivergent household, the parents get bored.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, definitely.
Like you were saying, being held hostage to the household, because neurotypical kids tend to want to do lots of different things, right? The summer holidays is a time for them to do whatever they want. They go out with their friends and they can be booked onto holiday clubs, or they can go off to activities unsupervised, or pursue their hobbies, or have play dates. That's not really a thing for the neurodivergent kids that we're looking after.
It's not. I think it's hard, isn't it, as parents to feel like that there are those neurotypical families that are having those busy summers and able to, go on day trips. And I think we generally as parents go through that kind of grief period, don't we? But I think the summer holidays bring that back, I think it can be quite triggering for those feelings as well, that feeling of almost envy of other families.
Yes.
And,
there's definitely that disconnect between what we want as parents, how we want to experience our summer, and how our kids are able to. It's the capacity. I think that's the difference between the neurotypical kids. They have capacity to do all of these things. They have spoons galore to partake in whatever they want to do. And I remember, as an alleged neurotypical, when I was in the summer holidays and I saw that it was just a great time. I could go out with my mates and I'd
freedom.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, to be fair, also, I grew up in the 80s where parenting was a lot more lax as well.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, we were kicked out at 9 o'clock in the morning and told not to come back until 5 o'clock. Yeah, no mobile phones.
We were just off the radar, and that was it. You'd sort of come back for food and a lecture on how dirty you got in the meantime. So it was a different experience, but also my parents didn't worry about me in that same way, because I think maybe because I'm neurotypical. I don't know. Certainly, I wouldn't be comfortable letting my kids just sort of roam free for the whole day, or for any great period of time. I think it depends on which child as well, because Jay, I think we're slightly more able to let off the leash a little bit and have a bit more autonomy. But Otto, I think even when he's 30, he's probably still going to need us for support. So it's quite an interesting perspective where the kids don't really want to leave the house. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of judgment as well, isn't there? Because I know with my kids, they wanted to stay in their rooms. They wanted to be on their iPads, on their screens. Like we were saying, it's that time to decompress. And we're kind of encouraged, aren't we, as parents, to get our kids outside and to get them off the screens. And the summer's the perfect time to do it. But actually, we're dealing with something completely different. And I suppose as a parent, I used to think I was a bit lazy because I allowed that. But now, I know that I was meeting their needs and, helping them to stay regulated, and that's how their nervous system and their brains work. But
Yeah.
I think it's really hard when you are parenting that way, against that neurotypical judgment
Yeah,
of
definitely.
the family, society.
There's definitely an element, I feel, certainly personally, of guilt. Like, I feel guilty that I'm not giving them this amazing experience. It's like, right, let's all go to the beach for the day and I'll take a picnic and we'll do and I feel guilty that, I feel as if somehow I'm not providing that for them.
Yeah, I get it.
And that they're not getting the summer that I envisaged that they should want. But also, that's completely based in like nonsense. It's fabrication, right? Because that's not what they want.
No,
That's
that's
not
what we
they
want.
need. I just
Yeah.
feel guilty for not living up to an expectation that is in my
Yeah.
head, not theirs.
Yeah. And I think that's so valid. And I think probably most parents feel like that. And I know I did. But then you say, like, no, we're going to have a family day out. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to do all these things. And then it's flipping
Oh, we've
horrendous.
tried to force it through.
And then you just think, why have we done this? Everyone's miserable. everyone's crying.
It's
And
terrible,
you just
isn't it?
realise that's not how we work as a family.
If you think about it, if you feel judged about your sort of not taking them out, I think we're probably going to be more heavily judged if we do take them out, because it's going to be an absolute shit show. Everyone's kicking off and like, come on, we're having fun. Come on, children, eat your sandwiches.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. I mean, the beach used to be an absolute flipping nightmare for our kids. Like, we'd have one child who wouldn't put their feet on the sand, so we'd have to wear wellies.
Wellies,
We'd have
nice.
wellies on the beach. Yeah.
Spot the neurodivergent, a crowded beach. I love
We
it.
had another child who would run straight into the sea, and then immediately I'd come out and want every speck of sand taken off him, and then wanted to sit in the car all day. And you just think, oh my God,
Why are we doing this?
Why are we here? Yeah,
it's a struggle, isn't it? It is really resetting your own expectations of what summer should be.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
my kids, if I'm going to listen to my kids, and I feel like I should, because the summer holidays is for them to a degree, and so we need to facilitate them. And if you think about, I was thinking about this earlier, if you think about when they get home from school, right? If they've been in school, if they've been able to attend school, they come home and they let it all out, right? That is their safe space. That's how they regulate. And sometimes that can present itself in super fizziness or just exhaustion or anger and meltdown, because they can finally let it all out. If you think about that at the end of a day, you magnify that at the end of an entire school year.
Exactly.
And how much they need to just be safe and let out whatever they're feeling.
Yeah. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, haven't you? And it's funny because my youngest Barney, he's 21 now, but he I put a post on Instagram about it actually. It was very random. I was in the garden having a cup of tea, and suddenly he appears with wet hair, just had a shower, pajamas, his best shoes on, running down the garden. Mum, I need to tell you something. And he'd said, I'd had a thought in the shower, and you need to tell your parents this. And he basically said, what parents don't realise is that, at the weekends, he was talking about the weekends, all week we've been switched on and we've been doing everything every day. At the weekends, we don't want to do anything. So even just, coming downstairs and chatting, watching a video, that's taking our energy away. We literally have to switch off. And I said, oh, thanks, B, that's really insightful. And I shared that. But you're right. At the end of actually a whole term at school, a whole year at school, imagine how much time they need to do nothing. And, it's going to be immense, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's why I see the summer holidays is a positive for them to be able to just be at their own pace and to do things that they want to do. And it does involve an unhealthy amount of screen time. And I know what you were saying about, I just feel really guilty about it, and that, and it's lazy. And but I recognize that that's not all of them. I think Jay needs it a lot more than the other two. Otto needs to get out and run around and let go of some of that energy. And India needs a lot more imaginative one-to-one play. So it's about being able to balance what they need in that safe environment, which, you know, that is the best case for our kids.
Yeah.
As a parent, that's really hard work.
And also that all your kids probably need different things, don't they, as well? You know, you can have 3 neurodivergent kids that all, like you just pointed out, you know, want different things over the summer, which I think can be difficult when you've got one child who really won't go out and then you've got another child who'd quite like to go out, and how you balance that.
And as a solo parent as well. I mean, like, I know, you know, in this, I mean, I'm a solo parent, but also in the summer holidays, typically you'll sort of, one parent will take the lead and they'll be on their own, because you don't both need to be around for that, I don't think. I mean, when me and Tam were together, it was very much Tam taking the lead, because Tam is a teacher, so had that time off. And then I'd take some dedicated time off within that to be with everyone and do it that way. But that's where it becomes much more difficult to balance those different competing needs when you're flying solo and going, definitely. Well, like, Otto needs to run it off. We need to get out, right? But Jay doesn't want to do that. So how do we balance that? Is the perpetual game that we're trying to play, and trying to involve everyone in everything where possible. I can't be the only one that's experiencing that.
No, I co-parented for quite a long time as well, and like you said, it's so challenging. And what I found difficult, although myself and my ex-husband parented quite similarly, that transition between houses could be quite unsettling in the summer as well. So you've almost got that reset when they're going from one house to another.
Just when they're finally managing to regulate.
Just when they're getting settled, So that in itself can be a challenge, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I want to do lots of exciting things for my kids as well. Like, I would love, as an alleged neurotypical, to spend the day at the beach, or go to a theme park, or go for a long walk and a picnic. But that's not what they need. And that it's really hard to let go of that. And also to sort of look out the window and see other people doing exactly that. Or getting updates from friends or family, or looking on social media and you see this family off having a wonderful time, you know, whatever they're doing, and showing the world it's, well, you know, I don't know what, I don't even look at it anymore, because it's not worth it, right?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's just like looking through the window.
Posts of happy families.
I mean, that's not the reality. I'm sure they have squabbles and arguments as well. But it's that kind of thing of like, it'd be really nice to be able to do that, but I can't do that. And it's not. And it's that
spontaneity, isn't it, as well? It's that spontaneity of, well, let's do this today. And well, no, unless you've planned it in advance and warned them, then that's just not happening, is it?
Yeah, because I do sort of pride myself on being the spontaneous one, but I end up doing that in the house. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, what are we going to do? Let's make cookies now. And so because I can't do that, like, let's all just hop in the car and go to Wales, for example, which would, that would be an insane idea. And I wouldn't ever do that. There's a good reason for that. But, you know, I can't just make something up on the spot outside of the house. So I end up making stuff on the spot inside the house, and being a bit more flexible around that.
Yeah. And that's a great idea though, isn't it? Because we kind of did things like that where we'd have, like, you know, a picnic in the living room, or I'd follow the kids' special interests, and I might just about manage to get them to come to Hobbycraft and get some bits and pieces, and then we'd come straight back. So I think you can still be spontaneous. It's just, like you said, within the restraints, within the confinements of the house.
And in short bursts as well. It's not like, let's get away for 4 days. No, I give it 40 minutes at the absolute most, and that includes travel time and time encouraging you to get your shoes on.
Yeah.
So that's half an hour.
You're talking days then, aren't you, to get shoes on?
So it's hard, I think, as a parent of neurodivergent kids. And I recognise that I'm talking on behalf of neurotypical parents of neurodivergent kids. I think, you know, if you're also neurodivergent, you possibly have a different experience. But I do get quite a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, which again is, you know, you look at what other people are doing and you just feel like you want to be doing what other people are doing, rather than, you know, sitting in and watching the same movie for the 4th time.
Yes.
Okay, you know.
I've got this like PTSD with me with the Horrid Henry movie. For some reason, I do not know why, but it was one summer that we watched the Horrid Henry movie on repeat for 6 weeks, and I can't even like tell you like the stress that causes me thinking about that now.
Can we try something that I want to watch? No? Okay, fine. We're back to Horrid Henry then.
It wasn't even the whole movie. It was like, you know, like 20 minutes of specific part of that movie over and over and over again. But, I got a cup of tea and they were happy.
But they also want you to share it with them. That's the thing. Like, I've noticed that I get told off if, like, look, you watch this. I've got to make dinner. So I'll do that and I'll drift in and out. But I get really shamed into sort of being a negligent parent. If it's like, I'm actually feeding us, I'm doing something, that is beneficial to the household. But I get that they want you to share that with them.
Yeah.
One thing I hate, and I think a lot of parents of neurodivergent kids, they feel the same way, is when you are talking to somebody, usually school drop-off, something like that, just towards the summer holidays, and they go, so what are your plans for the summer? That question, just my heart sinks.
Well, we'll be in our pajamas probably the most. By about week 3, we'll all be feral. So.
Yeah, but for some reason, like I filter my answer. I don't feel like saying that would be acceptable to them. So, because I should be saying that, like, just mainly staying in the house with brief, optimistic forays outdoor to assuage my guilt that we're not getting enough vitamin D. But apart from that, just hunkering down and just getting through it.
Did you make up like really?
Yeah. We're going to Morocco this year. No, no, I don't just out and out lie. I just sort of shrug and go, nothing much really, and then just hope they don't have a follow-up questions. Yes. And they rarely do, because typically the people that ask you what you're up to over the summer are asking because they've got an amazing summer planned and they want to tell you.
They want to share.
Yeah, they want to share it. Yeah. So if you just say nothing much, what about you? And then just strap in for the...
Yeah, just let them get on with it,
And I am interested. Like, these are people that I like. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm interested in what they're doing, but... It's unattainable for me.
I wouldn't be interested.
Really, exactly. I want to know. I could say that, couldn't I? I'm not up to much, but I also don't want to know what you're up to. So let's just leave it here. Let's talk about something different. Because when people tell me about those plans, I think it's only reasonable to have an element of jealousy there at the range of stuff they've got going on. Because, as I said, as someone who has neurotypical aspirations, like, I think they're doing stuff that sounds amazing to me. I was like speaking to some really good friends of mine recently. We were just talking about summer plans, and they've got a van and they're going to pootle around the southwest of England, and they're going to go to some beaches and take in different cities and visit a museum and like pop in like unprompted and visit friends, maybe see an aunt, maybe visit a theme park or a water park. They were telling me all of this, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. Like,
sounds exhausting.
No, but for me, I wanted to ask if I could go with them. Can I come, guys? This sounds incredible. But I have to be realistic. No part of that would be doable for my kids, because a lot of that is the spontaneity, as you were saying, right? They've got a vague plan and a vague outline of what's going to happen, but anything within that is going to be dependent on the weather or whether they like a particular place and want to stay for a little bit longer. And I get stressed even just thinking about that with my lot. Yeah. Like,
can you imagine?
Yeah, because there's
hiring a van.
Like, because there's like the amount of transitions that is like day to day, activity to activity, mealtime to mealtime, being away from their safe space, being around lots of other people outdoors, and traveling in hot weather, which is a solid no for Jay, and just introducing so many unknown variables. It's just unthinkable. It's just not worth it, right? Because you've got to be led by what your kids can handle. It's not a case of just strapping in them and them doing it, because the experience that you think it's going to be is just unrealistic. It's not going to be that. It's going to be...
And the recovery time from, even just a day out.
Yeah.
You've got to at least put a day's recovery in your diary. Yeah. Because the kids are going to be, literally on the floor. We're going to be drinking a pint of wine. So, even if you do manage to get a day trip in, the payoff for that is massive, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And we're not going to be experiencing it in the same way that they are. So it's like, what we'll have is we'll have a meltdown in a museum, and we'll have a physical altercation on a beach. We're going to stink out the vibe at a friend's house, be asked to leave. That's the reality. So let's not kid ourselves here. Let's be realistic about what it is, which is why we choose to not do anything particularly ambitious. And it is, as I say, it's hard to not feel a little bit sad that that's not what we're experiencing. But, it's not about us, really, is it?
And it's picking your battles, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think over time that gets easier. I think like by the time my kids were sort of teenagers, they didn't want to spend time with us anyway by the time they were teenagers. But we'd done so many years of that we realised, the payoff, if you're going to, have those days out, it's just not worth it. And I think you don't kind of not get used to it. I think I've always felt that FOMO, but I think you realise over time that you're doing the right thing, and you pick your battles, grow a thick skin when people are telling you what they're doing. And as I say, to most people, it gets chucked in the fuck it bucket in our house.
I love your fuck it bucket. It just explains to the Neuroshambles listeners who haven't yet heard of the fuck it bucket.
Oh, you've got everyone needs a fuck it bucket. Well, everyone who's got a neurodivergent child needs a fuck it bucket, because if you just chuck it in there and you get on. If it's not going to matter in 5 years time, then in it goes, so anything can go in there. It can be you had to put them to bed in their school uniform just so you could get them up in the morning, or they didn't do their 20 minutes homework, or you gave them the chocolate biscuit for breakfast. If you're worried about it, it goes in the fuck it bucket, because it doesn't matter.
Nice. And that is the whole summer holidays.
You need a big massive bucket, and it's all going in there.
I mean, one of the things I wanted to also kind of focus on, because I think it doesn't really get discussed as much, and maybe that's, I don't know if anyone has a similar experience to me, but I think summer holidays with neurodivergent kids has a big impact on working parents. And I mentioned this very briefly in episode 38 that I did with Nicole Bateman. With neurotypical kids, you can sort of book them onto activities. They can go and do an activity for the whole day, or they can go to a friend's house for the whole day, or they can go away for a whole weekend with friends or people who will have them over to stay. And I remember when I was a kid, I barely saw my parents in the summer holidays. And that's not something that is an option for us. And what that means is that we have to be around, which means that we have to take time off work. We can't be like, all right, I'm going to drive you to football. You'll play football the whole day. You go to Gary's house. I don't know who Gary is. You go to your mate's house afterwards. You come back for dinner, right? Great. Yeah. I can do work. I don't have to take a day off work. That's not an option for me when I'm parenting my kids. So this year, every single day of annual leave that I've taken is to deal with summer holidays or half terms.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's an impact on parents with neurodivergent kids that is not talked about very often. It's not really appreciated.
Yeah. And also if you are brave enough to go on holiday and you're going in the summer holidays, it's so busy that our kids can't cope with that anyway. Yeah. So you don't even have the option of going, well, actually, I'll take some time off in term time and take them away. So I think that as well is, it's a real downside to having to juggle your work around kids. I think one of the things as well is the fact that, we get penalised for taking our kids out of school in term time. But as parents of neurodivergent kids, it would be so much better if you could have holidays in term time, because there are less people around, it's less busy. So if you are brave enough to go on holiday, you've got to do it in the summer holidays when it's really, really busy and really expensive.
And really, really hot as well.
Really hot, yeah. Sensory nightmare.
I think there is a thing for neurodivergence is that they don't tend to cope very well in the heat. Well, mine certainly. Like last night was incredibly hot.
Yeah.
And the amount of dysregulation going on in our household was insane. So taking that time to go on holiday in the summer holidays, if you do that, is just not as enjoyable. I think we all need winter breaks. That's what we need.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you're right about the heat. My kids are the same. Barney has to wear long sleeves all year round because, as I said, he doesn't like the feeling of any kind of air or anything on his skin. Okay. So he is just boiling all summer because he won't wear t-shirts and he won't wear shorts. So he's in like a long man's shirt and tweed trousers, because he loves to dress well. Yeah. So he's just absolutely sweating. This is like Otto, because
was it the hottest day of the year last night or something? It was really hot, and Otto put on an hoodie. It's like, dude, you're not helping yourself at this point. Come on.
Just sweating.
He just didn't think about it. I was like, dude, if ever a day was like a pants only day, it's today. Crack on. So yeah, there's that side as well. So on working parents, going away is more expensive, and your time off has to be essentially staying in the house as well.
Yeah.
Like, so it's
Yeah.
not really a holiday. Doesn't feel like a holiday for you because
No,
it's basically like
childcare,
a lot of weekends
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
back, basically.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, that's such a great way to describe.
Yeah.
It's just a long weekend.
It's a really long weekend. So obviously we've mentioned holidays, and it is, just worth drilling into a little bit more, because it can be obviously really tricky with our lot too. For kids who are dysregulated by changes in routine or unfamiliar surroundings, going on holiday is not always as fun as it sounds. What did you do when you were raising your kids at that age?
So we did 2 holidays in this country.
Okay.
I was brave once, and we took them to Italy, which was eventful. We ran out of Barney's safe food by about day 3, and I think he lived on these little biscuits that we found that were very similar to rich tea for the rest of the week. So I felt like a terrible parent.
Hey, you kept him alive, Lisa. You're winning.
But we would go away in this country, and like you said, it would be kind of similar. It would be like cottages or places that were kind of on their own, so we could manage it. We would never stay at a holiday park. Actually, that's a lie. We did go to a holiday park once, and I remember forcing them into like the little discos that they have and sitting there, and Barney just looked at us and went, "This sucks," and that was it. From that point on, massive meltdown. Never did that again. So no, it was places that we could control, and
that's it, isn't it?
The same place, or we could take our own food, and we could get photographs of what it looked like inside so they could see it. So yeah, it would be very isolated.
Yes,
it was almost like taking our house and just putting it in a different part of the country, because nothing really changed.
Yes, it's controlling as many variables as possible while being in a totally different place, which
makes no sense whatsoever.
The theory of going on holiday is to relax, but as a parent, it is way, way more stressful, because you've got the amount of stuff you have to pack as well to make sure you've got distractions and comforts.
And also, like, we had to take their own duvets, because they didn't want to have duvets that were there. Like, they were very specific about that. They wanted their own pillows. So it was ridiculous.
Just turn up in a removal van.
Exactly. It was so much.
Bought the sofa, kids.
It got easier as they got older, definitely. But yeah, as they kind of coped a little bit better with change. But when they were little, then it was like moving house, basically.
Yeah, and that's that's the thing. When you get there, it's like, well, maybe we can do something for a day trip. It's like, no, we can't. We got to take the video games, and we've also got to take the iPad and just make sure that they've got all of that with them. So our concept of a holiday is different, I think, a lot of the time. I do cover the holidays in a lot more detail in episode 3 of Neuroshambles. I did an episode specifically about holidays, because we just come back from a holiday in Greece. And again, that was wonderful for many reasons, but it was about controlling the variables. We got an Airbnb. We had access to the pool that was, only us and a couple of other flats. And, again, it was about hunkering down and making our own little space in a different country. And they still complain about how hot it was. They loved it. Like, had a really good time, I think, and they remember it fondly. But Jay is like, I'm never going back. It's way too hot.
Turn down the heat.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to kind of focus again on the importance of the summer holidays for the kids, because it is just that it's almost like this big sigh of relief for them. And I recognise that to my kids, this is a safe place for them, this house, and they are comfortable in this place, and they can regulate as much as they need, and they can advocate for themselves as much as they need, and this place works for them.
Yeah.
So when they get here, they're already kind of back to being regulated, which is lovely. And we've worked really hard to create that environment for them. But I'm also aware that that's not the experience of a lot of families with neurodivergent kids who've been high masking maybe, or keeping stuff in. Getting into the house is a very different kind of release, and where you've got explosive behavior, or people, it's their safe space, and that's the only place they can let it out. So for some people, though, the summer holidays is filled with dread because of that.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Yeah, and you never really know how long they're going to take to regulate. So, the first few weeks you can see more meltdowns,
Yeah.
which is really tricky as a family. I think that actually they finish school, you've got that kind of like, okay, we haven't got to force them into school, we haven't got to have that difficult school run in the morning, but then the meltdowns increase, and it's exactly as you said. It's like that massive. Like them coming home from school and having that 3:30 meltdown that they often have every day. This is like the bigger version of that.
The August meltdown. Thanks,
an
guys.
August meltdown. So it's going to go on longer, which is really, really tough.
Yeah, and it's hard because, as you say, you're sort of locked in the house, right? And very often the people that you would lean on are all on holiday, so you can't,
having a great
can't get them, right?
Yeah,
So, sometimes I'm like trying to make plans. So, like, maybe I can book in some time for India to see her mate. So, I can get one of the children doing something outside the house, but they're all off for a massive holiday for ages. So that's like, oh, well, I don't have that option then. So, yeah, I just sparing a thought for the people to whom it's a much more, a volatile environment to be in the household, until hopefully you kind of reach that point where they're able to just level out a little bit and be a bit more kind of.
And then they're back at school.
And then, just as they do that, you go, oh, I quite like this child. This version of my child's excellent. And they're like, right, back to school. Oh, God. We're dealing with it again.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But there is a little window. There's a little window of time where it all hopefully will sort of equalize itself. And but I try and look at it from the perspective of my kids, because, Otto, for example, has found school really tricky this year. It's been really hard, and he's fallen behind academically, which, I'm fine letting that go. That's just, because it's his mental well-being. I think that's much more important. And unfortunately, the school are on the same page with that. So, but for him to not be going into school and sort of having demands and expectations on him that he's not able to meet, it's really good for him. Yeah. It's really important, because I keep thinking back to how many times when our kids are in school, they are failing to meet expectations that are unfair or unrealistic, and how much of an impact that has on their self-esteem and on their own well-being. So just removing those expectations is this golden opportunity to just give them a little bit of space to be themselves.
Yeah, that breathing space, exactly like you said, to not have those expectations, and just to be them without having to mask or to meet needs. Yeah, I think it is a golden opportunity.
Doesn't feel like it sometimes. It's like, when someone's having a meltdown because you beat them at a game, and they're like, no, this is golden. This is golden time.
We are enjoying ourselves.
It's a case of seeing it from their perspective sometimes, and understanding that that's what they need. One of the things I did before this episode was I put something out on the socials asking people to kind of offer their questions or advice about getting through the summer holidays intact. And you also put it out to your legion of followers on Instagram. So we've got a few comments and questions back. I just thought it'd be good to go through those and see if we've got any advice to give to people.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do it. We can try.
All right, yeah, exactly. I can only offer an opinion. So one of the questions that you got was, how do you keep the house clean when the Hoover is banned?
I love this question.
It was great, because it's like,
it's so relatable.
Yeah. Because again, this is someone who is housebound, right? They're not going to school now, so they're around, and the house, because they're in the house for longer as well, it's getting messier. That's another unspoken thing about being in the house all the time. The amount of cleaning and extra stuff that you have to do just multiplies. So if you're in a house and you're getting stressed by the fact that it's getting a mess, how do you do it when the Hoover is banned? Have you got any suggestions for that?
Well, yeah, couple of things. One, I was thinking my initial reaction is don't hoover.
Yeah, that's mine. That was mine. But straight
Just
away, it's like,
lower the bar,
fuck it,
But I
bucket,
get
straight away.
exactly. Chuck that in the fuck it bucket. But I get exactly what you said, that when you are kind of in the house all the time and it's starting to get messy, you just want to get that hoover out, don't you? So my hoover broke a few months ago. Actually, I have got another one. It isn't that I haven't hoovered for months. But while it was broken, we got a really hard, like, bristled brush.
Oh yeah.
And just brush the carpet, and it works really well. Like a really
really?
an outdoor brush that you would get for like sweeping pavements and that, and it just brought up like any dog hair or anything, and then I could just use a discipline and brush and
Nice,
sweep it up.
topped it.
There you go. Maybe do a bit of that while they're in bed, or if you've got a lot of money, you could get one of those little robot hoovers, couldn't you? That just goes around the house. Because I think they're quiet.
Would that be banned? I don't know. I love the word banned, by the way. The word banned in there. It's just like, tell me you've got neurodivergent kids without telling me you've got neurodivergent kids. Child banning cleanliness in the household. But I get it. Like, it'll be the noise, like you're saying. So if you've got a little Roomba or one of those little automated ones, but that's budget. That
is budget. Lower the bar. Don't worry about the hoovering.
Just put sawdust down and be done with it.
Just do a big clean when they're back in school.
It already resembles a farmyard in my house. We might as well lean into it. Okay, another question we had, which was an interesting one, was home ed practice over summer, ? Genuinely considering and a trial could work.
Yeah, that's another interesting question, isn't it?
It is. So this is presumably someone who is considering home educating their child and thinking, I could use this to actually to test it out and see how it works.
Yeah, it works, yeah. I've got mixed opinions about this one.
Mm-hmm.
So my concern is it might backfire because, like we were just talking about, they've probably had a whole year at school and they need to decompress.
Yes.
So it's about being really careful how you kind of approach it. So you almost want to start by deschooling. I didn't homeschool, but a lot of the parents in my community do. And the first thing they say is they spend a really good chunk of time deschooling, where they don't do anything at all, so that their child gets to the point of being regulated.
Yes.
So I think I would start with that and have no expectations to begin with. And then maybe when you notice that your child is starting to be a bit more regulated, then maybe try following their interests to start with. So go with let them be kind of curiosity driven and maybe do some activities around that. And also notice your rhythm as a family, because there'll be different times in the day that you eat, rest, play. So school doesn't have to take part between the hours of 9 and 3 like it does, typically. So it might be that your kids, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon are suddenly really regulated and you use that opportunity to try an activity. But I think it's being really careful and balancing it so that we don't cause more dysregulation if they've had a tricky year at school. But it's an interesting one. It's something to think about, I think, if you are considering it.
Yeah,
it's a good time,
I think it's great. I mean, I'm sort of not really homeschooling, but I'm just introducing some learning concepts to Otto, because he, like I say, he's missed out on quite a lot of the academic side of school. So it's as you say, just finding the rhythm of when they're able to do that. It's usually temperature led as well. There's no point if it's super hot, but if it's cooled down, or if there's a shady bit in the garden, you want to just take it out there and do something. That's my plan with Otto, is to go grab a little workbook and then see if we can work through it when the time is right, rather than sort of saying at 2 o'clock we're going to do maths. Not suggesting that that's what the listener has suggested, but it is about, I think, give them the first probably 3 or 4 weeks to decompress, and then maybe introduce it as a concept.
As a concept, I think that's it. You don't need to recreate school, I don't think. I think it's about actually the concept of learning. And we do that through play. We learn so much through play and through our children's own interests. So I would take their lead and go with it.
Yeah, and get inventive. This is stuff they're not going to do at school. This is where I revert back to when I was teaching Otto times tables, and when I was sort of asking him his times tables, he would panic because, I'm asking him a direct question, and he knew that there was a response and he just got in his head. So we did it whilst playing table tennis.
Oh, perfect.
So we're
Excellent.
like firing
Yeah.
maths questions at him while we're playing table
Amazing.
tennis. They're not doing
Yeah.
that in schools, are they?
course
But it's combining his interest with,
Yeah.
and also getting him outside of his head a little bit. He's not having
Yeah.
to, he's not stuck in his head. And it turns out he knows them all.
Amazing. That's
I just
a
didn't
great
know.
way of doing it. Love it.
There's lots of different ways to be improvisational with it and enjoy. The third question isn't really a question. It's just the word help
Help.
with an exclamation mark.
Yeah. I mean, totally relate to that. I think most of them go,
totally.
help.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm presuming that this is someone who's experiencing that much more volatile presentation of neurodivergency, and that their kids releasing that anxiety and that overwhelm in the home. And what do you say to that? Like, I totally get it.
I think it's about remembering that over the summer, really, our only job is regulation. Is regulation theirs and yours, and whatever that takes. And you don't have to have a Pinterest summer. It doesn't have to be
I like that.
this perfect summer. Whatever you do, will be enough. And I think that's something you touched on before about how we feel guilty we're not doing enough with our kids. And so I think it's about just making it so that you all get through it in one piece. And if that means that they are on their screens for 8 hours a day and but you're all regulated, that's what you want. You want your child to be regulated.
Yeah.
So do what you need to do. I mean, that's my motto generally with parents I work with. It's never fancy from me. It's always just do what you need to do to survive and stay regulated.
Yeah, write your own rules, basically. Like, ditch everyone else's expectations. You know what you and your family are capable of doing. And
have those little moments for yourself if you can get them. If it means locking yourself in the toilet and eating a flake while the kids are banging on the door,
that from experience,
do it. Do what you need to do.
I tend to sneak upstairs and just have a little lie down on my bed for like a brief moment of time, and then I hear the footsteps. I'm like, oh God, I better look like I'm tidying in here.
It's like a really long blink. I used to call it a really long blink where I just close my eyes, just a little bit longer than normal, and then I'd be like doing that several times throughout the day.
Just grab whatever moments you can. Good luck with it anyway, whoever wrote that in.
Good luck.
Another question that we had is how to build a loose routine for anxious PDA child struggles with transition between two houses, which actually touches on one of the things that you mentioned, which, presumably the parents are separated and co-parenting, so that the kids are going backwards and forwards between the two houses. For the record, I don't think I've ever spoken about this on Neuroshambles, so this is interesting. We have a different setup. So Tam and I are separated, but we are nesting. I don't know if you're familiar with bird nesting, where we have one house and the kids stay in the house and me and Tam tag in and out, basically. Because it's important for the kids to be in one place. We felt like we didn't want them dysregulated. Don't get me wrong, it's really difficult for me and Tam. We're taking a hit really on that. The kids love it because they're in the same place, and we're consistent co-parents, so that helps. But what it means is that we've conveniently sidestepped this particular issue. It's not cheap, obviously.
No, I bet not.
But we're doing what we can to keep them regulated. Obviously, that's not possible for everyone, particularly if you're not parenting on the same page, and particularly if there's maybe a bit more animosity between the co-parents. That's not really doable. And that's where this kind of issue comes in with the transitions. And also, obviously, if you don't have the money to throw at that, which, we don't anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're making it work.
Basically, you're living in a cupboard when you're not at the house.
That's pretty much true. Yeah. I'm like Harry Potter, I like to think of it. So as someone who's been through the similar experience, Lisa, you've got a much more useful perspective on this.
Yeah, I mean, we did get on very well, but it was still really difficult having those two houses. And I think as much as you try to parent the same, there's always going to be differences. Communication's so important. I think if you can communicate with that other person about how that child's been before they make that transition, it's almost like when you're at school, and I always say to parents, like, let the teacher know the evening you've had the night before, because then that other person can adjust their expectations, which I think is really, vital. We kind of made sure that there was 2 of everything, so nobody forgot anything. So trying to make sure that they had the same thing at every house, which again isn't cheap, but that helped. That really helped. The actual transition itself, when they were younger, what we did was that during like the period where they'd get to the next house, we would just give them free rein to let go. So Barney particularly found it harder because he was the youngest, and he would run down to the bottom of the garden, go on the trampoline, and he would swear. He would jump and swear and shout and scream.
Okay.
And we just left him to it, and
which
without
is
any
really hard for you to see that as well, because it's
really hard. Yeah, and he would do it at both houses, so nobody took it personally. I think he did. That's what they told me anyway. Maybe it was just me. But I think having that space to just let them get it out and no expectations. So as soon as they came home, I mean, we used to split the weeks. We'd have half a week, like 3 days with one, and then the rest with the other, and then we'd swap it so the other one had slightly more the next week.
Yeah.
So I missed them terribly. And when they came back, it was, I really wanted to sit down with them and do things and talk, but I knew I couldn't do that.
Because they need to bed in, right? And get used
to
they
need to bed in, exactly. Yeah, and that might be even a day that took. So my advice is definitely trying to have the same thing at each house, communicate with each other, lower expectations when they come home.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do, really. I think, it's hard. It is hard co-parenting and moving from house to house. But, over the years, they've said that they don't feel that it had a detriment to them at all. They feel like, they had a good childhood. So that's all you can do, really, isn't it?
Yeah, which is great. And obviously that is so reliant on you parenting on the same page. I think that's the consistency that you can give them. But that is very difficult for some co-parents. They have totally different, maybe the reason that people split up is because they've got totally different views on parenting, and that becomes a whole different issue. And I don't really know what to recommend in that situation.
I don't think there's a quick answer, is there? But again, it's about expectations. I think that when a child comes back, that if rules have been different at each house, it's given time to get used to the rules are going to be different at this house. So it's just about demands, capacities, expectations. It's just changing all of those things, which is really hard, I think, as a parent.
Yeah, and just not placing any demands on them in the first.
No demands, zero demands. Ever.
Yeah, good luck with it. Anyway, that's...
it's a tough one.
Yeah. Okay, so final question we got is, how do I get my child on a plane again?
That's a big one. I love the fact that it's again at the end, not just how do I get my child on a plane, again.
Yeah, which makes it sound like you've done this before, and for some reason you want another go. My initial instinct was to take the advice of the A-team and drug their milk. It's what they used to do with BA, and it worked a treat. But I mean, because I love it about these questions. I love having these kind of questions because you build up such an image of what this person has been through.
Yeah.
What
was that plane journey like?
Yeah, that it's obviously been quite triggering for the child, and that the parent wants to go on a plane again. And I guess it depends on when that was, because I know that my kids struggled a lot more earlier. If they're really young and they can't be distracted by screens, that's a very different plane journey than if you give them the iPad and go, you can watch what you want as long as you want, and then they're just engrossed in that, which is the experience that we had the last time we went on a plane,
right?
Which we, when they're at a certain age, they can't really do that. They're not really distracted by screens, and then it becomes a bit of a nightmare.
It depends how long the journey is as well, I suppose, doesn't it? Is it just a couple of hours to Spain, or are they going to Australia?
Yeah.
That's going to be a completely different
exactly.
journey.
Yeah, there's so much information we need to know to be able to give practical advice. One of them is don't bother. If you want to get abroad, then you could go on the ferry. You could get to mainland Europe on the ferry, or you could drive and go on the Eurotunnel or the Eurostar and get the trains. Probably not. You want to self-contain them. So I would think, going on a train is probably not what you're looking for.
Depends if Barney loves his train.
Yeah, exactly. That's all he wants.
Yeah, that's all he wants to do is be on a train.
So, yeah, I guess it depends on where they are and
Yeah.
whether they're able to deal with distractions,
And
such
also
as screens.
practice, do a trial run at the airport. I mean, I know they're saying they've been before, but if it's been a while, something that we did was, I say we, this was my ex-husband because I didn't take them abroad, but he took them to the airport, a local airport, just so they could kind of watch the planes landing and taking off, get used to security, because that was a real thing that the kids really were nervous about, was security. And, a lot of airports now do have more of a kind of inclusive approach to, so it depends where you're flying from.
Yeah,
really.
This is where I would flag, and I've done this a couple of times on different episodes of Neuroshambles, but I'm going to flag special assistance at major airports, because Gatwick do it and Heathrow do it, and it is phenomenal. That you basically phone ahead and you say, look, we've got neurodivergent kids and we need special assistance, and the accommodations that they make to get through those bumpy bits of the airport. So it's not just the plane, obviously, it's not just the flight, but it's the transition between, getting from your home to there. It's reducing that. Now, special assistance was incredible because you basically don't have to queue. You don't go in the massive security queues. You sort of have your own experience with a much smaller number of people. If your kids are overwhelmed and have problems walking, then I think it's Gatwick that has the special transport. You're the little buggies, the little golf buggies. You can phone ahead and get that. So I know that a previous guest, Belle, had that, and it was really, really helpful. And again, being in a sort of separate security routine with people who were a little bit more accommodating, a bit more understanding. You also can get a sunflower lanyard from an airport so people can visibly see that you're going to need a few more accommodations. That will definitely help the experience. I know it definitely did with us. And also you got a little quiet space, again with Gatwick, I think, that you can go in this little quiet space before you catch your flight, so you're not milling, like the main airport is quite overwhelming. You've got lots of announcements and lots of people and lots of shops, and that's quite overwhelming. There's like a quiet space that you can go to with neurodivergent kids. Well, it was quiet until my kids got there, and then it was not quite after that. But that was really helpful, and so I would definitely recommend that to easing that transition.
Because all of those things that lead up to the plane, by the time they've got to the plane, if you haven't got those accommodations, that's possibly contributing to why the plane journey itself is so difficult.
They're already at boiling point at that point.
They've already at boiling point. Yeah, so that's amazing. Just very quickly, I've got to tell you a story that my ex-husband told me. He used to take them aboard quite a lot. He was very brave. But Barney's way of calming down used to be when he was sat in the airport waiting to go on the plane, he would watch plane crashes on his iPad.
God, that would calm him down.
Because he said he knew what to expect, and so he would understand them. So the people sat around them, were watching this child watching plane crashes.
My God,
as they're about to board a plane.
I think he's like a terror suspect or something.
Exactly.
Dude, that is wow. Yeah, I can imagine that would be.
Well, that was his way of regulating.
I mean, each to their own.
Yeah.
Maybe put the headphones on so people aren't having to hear it as well. Hopefully, he didn't watch it on the plane as well.
No, I don't think so. I think he drew the line with that. He was like, no.
What was the other useful advice someone gave? I can't remember which guest it was. I think it was Belle again that told me this. When they book tickets on the plane, they book tickets so that they're in front of their child. So if their child's kicking the seat, it's you they're bothering and not someone else.
Not someone else. Oh my goodness.
I quite like that idea.
Yeah,
it depends if you can flank them, if you get someone next to them as well, so you're sort of
so they're hemmed in. Yeah.
But just got to get through it, and if people have issues with it, let them.
Yeah, fuck it, bucket again.
When I put this on the socials, I also asked for people to give advice. And not many people had advice. I think they're probably still just stressing about their just getting themselves through it. But I did have 2 responses to this that I wanted to talk through because I really like different people's approaches. It's interesting to see this. So one was from Lynn Clark. Advice on dealing with the summer holidays is take off pressure, put on gym jams. Yeah, standard. Comfort, food, and comfort everything. Do whatever keeps everyone as calm and regulated as possible, including self. I think if we could underline that,
Yeah.
I think we would
Perfect
do.
advice.
This is all that matters. Other great advice. Stay off social media, and alcohol makes everything worse. Now, social media I'm down with.
Not sure about the alcohol.
Don't take my booze from me, Lynn.
That's the only thing.
I mean, like, obviously not when you're on duty. When they're in bed, dude, that's my safety valve. But yeah, it's all about just doing what is going to keep you calm and regulated as possible. It's really great advice. Sounds like Lynn's got it nailed there. Yeah. Staying off social media is a great bit of advice that I wouldn't necessarily follow, but probably should, in that you're not seeing what other people are up to, like you say, you know, like people's Pinterest family of the wonderful things that other people are doing, that you know, to reduce some of that FOMO, I guess.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's really good. And if you feel like you will need to cut back on booze, you crack on, but not for me.
There's nothing like a nice cold bottle of Chablis in the fridge waiting for you after a day
for
of
breakfast. No, I'm joking. The other bit of advice that we had was from Kate, a wonderful Kate, who was a previous guest on Neurodiversity Champions, and she said, having an ADHD kid means a need for new experiences coupled with the anxiety that holds. So we've discovered a short activity out of the house most days of the holiday works best for us. I think that's wicked advice. Like that's something that I do, but without actually realizing it. So that made me reflect on, like, that's the thing. If for me, if I set myself an ambition of leaving the house just for a tiny bit, doesn't even have to be anything major, just like you know, I'm just going to go post this letter, let's all go, or something like that, or a little jaunt to the woods and back until, you know, Jay goes, right, I'm done now, we're going, and then we all leave again. Just setting myself a goal. It's not even an expectation. A goal of, if I can get us all out of the house briefly and then safely back again, like, that's good. And I think that's good advice from Kate there.
That's great advice. Yeah, it is. It's about those little moments. If you can do it, I must admit I was a bit rubbish at that, and we'd often spend days where we hadn't gone out, and then it kind of builds up, doesn't it? And you just that will probably stop that kind of cabin fever that we feel when we're sort of hostage. If you know you've got that 5 minutes each day, that at least you're getting out.
I think that's kind of that's more for me. Again, just checking off that, like, look, I'm parenting, guys.
I'm parenting
visibly out of the house. Okay, quick, back inside before anyone notices that it's badly parented.
Find pajamas that look like clothes, or find clothes that feel like pajamas. That's my answer, because then nobody has to get dressed. You can still womble down to the shop.
Crocs and onesies, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, Crocs and onesies. But yeah, just that those little jaunts, tiny bit of vitamin D, because I do feel like, you know, they would benefit from the sunshine, even if it's just, you know, by proxy. You know, that's not the intention. We're not sunbathing. We're just going to go out in the sunshine and back again. But yeah, there's great advice. And if any other Neuroshamblers listeners has advice to get us through the summer holiday, because this is the last episode of the season, then let the Neuroshambles Instagram account be a meeting place for people to share advice. And if I get some good stuff, I might, you know, sort of make some socials clips on it just to pay it forward. So yeah, if you've got any top tips, let us know.
It's not all rubbish.
Okay, so looking at the positive side now, because as we've said, and I think it's worth reiterating, it's a space for them to regulate and to let it all out, and to not be subject to demands that they're not able to meet. So I don't think we should ever underestimate the importance of that for them. And although I moan about it sometimes, I love spending time with my kids. Like, I do, you know, I get so much joy out of them. And so being with them for such a long amount of time, essentially housebound, apart from the little jaunts, that gives me the space to to be able to do one-on-one things with them, so that when one of them is doing their screen time, I could go grab Otto and go for a kickabout in the back garden, or I can grab India and do some play with all the millions of soft toys that she's got, or I could go and watch some anime with Jay, and just to make sure that you're getting that one-on-one time without placing any extra demands on them. And I love being able to spend that quality time with them, and I'm thankful for that, because I know that when they're older, we're not going to have that, right? Like, I think. And I know that, parents of neurotypical kids, they don't get that time, so it's something that my guest Jo said in the very first episode of Neuroshambles, is that she loves the fact her kids still want to be around her. And it's quite intense a lot of the time. Let's not, let's not mince words here. But the fact that they see you as that place of safety and that place of regulation is lovely, and it's important to kind of acknowledge that. It might not be as collaborative as we'd like a lot of the time, but I'll take it.
Neurodiversity Champions.
Okay, Neurodiversity Champions now. These are any organisations or humans that are doing wonderful things in the world of neurodiversity. Have you got a Neurodiversity Champions you want to share with us, Lisa?
Yeah, I do. And just like your good self, there's a couple of podcasts that I've been on recently that were just amazing.
Nice.
And one lovely, two girls called Sophie and Jade, and it's called We Are Not Your Typical. And I had the pleasure of seeing them yesterday and chatting to them, and they're just doing some really wonderful things and really down to earth, really, just a really lovely space for parents to kind of connect. So, yeah, definitely want to give them a shout out. And the other one is a podcast called Let's Talk Neurodivergent Kids, and it's Izzy Judd, who has recently started that. And again, I had the pleasure of talking on that. And Izzy's really lovely, and she's really, she's got a neurodivergent child herself, so she's very, open to these conversations. So yeah, two really nice podcasts, as well as this one, of course.
Oh, obviously, you're doing the podcast circuit now.
Obviously, yeah, I know.
Nice.
That's what I said to my husband yesterday. I was like, I'm on the circuit now.
It's good to do. It's always fine. Thank you for those recommendations. I've got a neurodiversity champion that's been recommended by a listener, and I feel like it's a convenient episode to do it on. This is recommended by Hannah Woods, who sent me an email recommending Legoland Windsor. Because she said, in terms of neurodiversity champions, we braved a trip to Legoland last week. And while the process to book an accessibility pass is quite complex, it's well worth it, and the help in the park was amazing. The accessibility pass was a real game changer in terms of not having to queue and access quiet spaces. I don't know if you've experienced this.
I've not been to Legoland Windsor, but I just suddenly thought of a quick tip when it comes to going to theme parks that me and Barney used to do. Is we used to wait till it rained.
That's a great idea.
Because there are no queues, and you get the park to yourself.
Yeah, them neurotypicals don't like it rainy, do they?
No, they do not.
That's a good tip. So yeah, I mean, we've been to Legoland Windsor with all the kids, and we did the accessibility pass. And as Hannah says, it's quite a complex process, but once you get it, it's wonderful, because you can basically go to the front of the queue, because there's no way that my kids, in particular Jay, is able to queue for any length of time without getting furious about stuff. And also, with Otto, very often we will be in a queue and we'll get to the front, and then that's the point where he decides he's too anxious to go on it and we have to leave the queue again. So at least we can make that decision at the front of the queue by just going straight there, cutting to the chase. So yeah, I endorse that. That was a really good thing. So thanks for the shout out, Hannah. That pass is also valid at Alton Towers and Chessington World of Adventures or Thorpe Park as well. So if you're a theme parky family and your kids are into that, I wish mine were. I really wish mine were, but they're not. So I think Legoland Windsor was the last one. We're like, yeah, it's not for us. But if you're that kind of family, then make the most of it. It's definitely worth it. Having said that, this is the summer holiday episode, and I would not recommend going in the summer holidays because it's going to be absolutely full of people.
Definitely not. Do not do that.
Unless, of course, it rains, in which case, fill your boots.
Tiny epic wins!
Right, tiny epic wins now. These are the things that in a neurotypical household would not be a major thing. But to a neuroshambolic household, they are epic wins. Do you have any tiny epic wins? Are you still experiencing epic wins even now they're grown up?
Oh, Mark, I am.
Good to hear.
I had a good one.
Please tell me.
Well, Barney has started washing up his own plate, which has taken me years to get him to do. So that is one less thing that I have to do. It doesn't sound very big, but it is very big.
Did you have to prompt him to do it, or did he do it? Did you catch him doing it on his own? Because I love it when that happens.
I've been prompting him for years to do it, and I don't know what clicked, but he suddenly started, because he has nuggets, chips, and ketchup, and if you don't wash it straight away, it's like flipping concrete.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and then, so did you sort of walk past the kitchen and see him do it, and then go, holy shit, it's happening! It's actually happening, guys. This is not a drill.
Although saying that, I went over to the sink afterwards and nearly fell over in a massive puddle of water that was on the floor. But you
but you don't correct them, do you? At that point, you're like, right, that's one battle. I've now got this one to deal with.
But we'll see if it actually happens again, though, whether it was a one-off.
Yeah, I love it when that kind of thing happens, though.
Yeah.
So my tiny epic win is that Jay was physically sick in school recently. That's not the win, just to be clear.
I was going to say that's a bit
get back at the system. No, he was ill and he was sick in school, so he had to be off for 2 days. That's the rule in the schools. If you've been sick, then you don't want to get anyone else sick, so you got to be off for 2 days. And when we told him that he had to be off for 2 days, he said, but I really want to go in for cooking.
Oh, wow.
Now, this, from a child who was in burnout and was like deeply damaged by being in a mainstream primary school and couldn't tolerate going into school for anything and was resistant, and we've had to build up very, very slowly throughout the whole year for him to actually want to go into school for anything. The fact it's cooking is not really relevant. The fact that it's a building that was so intensely triggering for him a year ago to get to the point where he is now, is enormous. It's a massive win.
Huge. That is huge. Yeah. Amazing. Well done, Jay. Well done.
Yeah, exactly. And the school, dude, they've done a fantastic job of giving him that experience that he feels like it's at least a place that he could cook in.
Yeah. Amazing.
What the flip?
Okay, it's what the flip moments now. I love these. These are the things that your children will do or say that make you completely just stop and go, what? And basically walk off baffled. Do you have any what the flip moments for us, Lisa?
I do. Not recently, but I was thinking back for this when I was thinking about what I could think of, and then something suddenly came in my mind, and it's actually quite dark.
Okay.
But I just remember once that we were in the car and Barney just suddenly went, something like 80% of people who are murdered by somebody in the family. And just went quiet.
Were you driving at the time?
Yeah, I was driving.
Like, pull over, quick.
Oh my God. So that was a what?
Also, coming from someone who watches plane crashes as well, you're like,
exactly.
I'm starting to get concerned here. Yeah. But that was a while ago. So
that was a while ago.
Yeah,
he didn't turn into a mass murderer.
Good to know.
So we're okay.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I got 2 what the flip moments. I got one from India where I said, I don't quite know why we're having this conversation. And I said, what are you going to do as a job, India? And she said, I'm going to work on a farm, but I'm going to be cows.
Okay.
Like, set the bar high. Not just one cow either, plural.
No,
she's going to be.
I love that. Not just the cow.
Just
cows,
the concept of cows. All the cows. When you just like, okay, I'm not even going to question it. Fine. Yeah, good luck with that.
Why not?
Her career guidance counsellor is going to have his work cut out. I'm sure.
Amazing. Is it profitable? Do you know, to be cows?
I mean, they're always milking the profits, aren't they? And the other what the flip moment is Jay, where he tasted homemade carrot cake recently, which is always fraught with danger. It's very much like giving something to Paul Hollywood. He's very critical. And he tasted it and he went, it's a bit too reliant on the cinnamon. It feels more like a cinnamon cake than a carrot cake. It's too dense and should be at room temperature. It's like a litany of feedback.
I mean, he's literally poor Hollywood, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know where he got it from. I know, but also, I mean, I tasted it. He wasn't wrong.
Oh.
It was all valid. He wasn't just being a dick. It was all perfectly acceptable feedback. But it is also quite hard to take when you've spent time and effort and putting love into it.
Love that. That's amazing.
Actually, speaking of that, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. And we were exchanging bolognese recipes. Yeah, but she was basically boasting about how her bolognese was perceived as being the best. And she said to her neurodivergent kid, it's because I put a lot of love into it. And he was like, there should be love in every dish. And I was like, that's really lovely. That is not the response that I'm going to get from my kids. And I thought as a test, I would see what response my kids would give. And so I tested it out with Jay and India. Otto wasn't around at the time, and I'll tell you their responses to this as well because I thought it was quite telling. So I said to India, the reason that bolognese tastes good is because it's got love in it. And she frowned really hard for a second, and then she just wagged her finger at me and said, that's not true. Love doesn't make anything taste better. So, it's like, as in, don't be stupid.
Oh my goodness.
Let's get real about this, Daddy.
Cynic.
Yeah, and then Jay was even better because he didn't have bolognese. He was in a salad mood, so I made him a salad. And I said, you know why that salad tastes so good, Jay? It's because there's love in it. And he went, I taste no love. I only taste rocket, olives, cucumber, spinach, carrot slices, and a tiny bit of spittle. So, not all our neurodivergent kids responded the same way. My kids were not on board with the concept of putting love in a meal. No. Hence Jay's very fierce criticism of a carrot cake.
I just love that. I think he needs to be a food critic, basically.
Oh, dude, he's a critic of food, whether he's employed to do it or not. So, he might as well be getting paid for it. Okay, that is the end of this episode of Neuroshambles. So firstly, Lisa, thank you so much for coming back and for sharing your experience of getting through the summer holidays. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
It's always lovely to catch up with you and to be one of the little stops on your little podcast circuit that you do all the time. Also, big thank you to the Neuroshambles listeners for getting through this, and also for being with me for the whole season. This is the last episode in season 2. I am going to take what I consider to be a much needed break over the summer because it's a lot of work, this podcasting lark, and it's been seating my pants quite a lot of the time. So I am going to spend time over the summer really working on more amazing guests for season 3, and I'll be back when the summer holidays is over because I'm taking my own time to regulate as well. I think it's important. If you want to keep in touch with me via the socials, then you can contact me on Instagram or Facebook or Threads or TikTok. I'll be producing a bit more content in the summer because I'll have a bit more capacity because I won't be editing podcasts all the time. You can also email me at hello@neuroshambles.com as well. Don't be a stranger, even though I'm not releasing podcasts. And if you want to leave a review for Neuroshambles on your podcast platform of choice, that would be hugely gratefully received. I should also mention the summer holiday survival guide that Lisa has put together. I'll put a link in the show notes to that if you want to download that and get even more tips on how to get through the summer holidays. I think that's it. All that remains for me to say now is have a great summer and have a nice life.